I decided not to apply to be commissioned as an officer because I felt I could do more as an enlisted.
Women truly have been serving in amazing fields across the nation, across the world.
That women serve in combat. Women are commanders. Women are in charge of a lot of organizations and companies and things. We're running things. We're evolved.
We are grateful for all the men and women who have served and continue to serve our nation. In this special presentation of Life in the Carolinas, we honor women in service. Their voice is strong. Their contributions are significant. Their selfless dedication is undeniable. And for this, we are forever thankful. In cooperation with our friends at the American Legion and the American Legion World Series, I had the opportunity to sit down with women who have served our nation in various branches of the United States military. We had candid conversations about the challenges, victories, ongoing demands, and the evolution of women in service. These veterans embody the spirit of more than 1.8 million women who have served our nation, starting from the Spanish-American War to our current military. You're now the immediate past commander.
Yes, sir. We refer to as commanders, past department commanders, has-beens,
right?
You know, all kinds of different terms.
You have served.
We're loved.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell our viewers what a state commander for the American Legion does.
We travel around the state, of course, and visit posts and I visit bases and guard bases, Camp Lejeune. We do workshops, and we work with our committees and commissions to help them with membership or our Americanism. We just do a lot of different things.
Tell me about where you were born and raised, and then how you discovered the military.
Well, I was born and raised in Washington State. I was a tomboy, so I learned to fish by the time I was 6 years old. I learned to gut my own fish before I was 7. My dad was in the Army, so that's my contact as far as the military. So the military for you was not just an opportunity to serve your country, but to serve your family and provide. Yes, my community, everybody. Right. So you're in for 3 years. I was in basic training when Vietnam ended. So part of your life involves taking care of other people. I just can't imagine doing anything else. And when it comes to the military, and I was in Iraq in 2004, Afghanistan in 2011 and 12. When 9/11 happened, that everything changed. How long did you work in this area? Of aeromedical? Right. 13 years. In fact, April of 2012, 2 months before I went home, Sergeant Travis Mills is his name, came off a helicopter, and he lost all 4, both his arms and his legs. And some of them were hanging just by bones and tissues, but he ended up eventually, he lost them all. Blood everywhere. I'd never seen so much blood in my life. And here's this man that 10 minutes earlier, he stood about 6'3" or 4, I don't know, he was a big, tall guy, and he kept asking about his men. And those stories are real. People don't really understand that kind of thing really actually happens. He is a motivational speaker, so he's amazing. He's an amazing man, father, son, husband. What you would think would be a stopper for most people was just a start for him. You were really, really making a difference. Had a purpose. Do you think about these things now? Is it something that's difficult? Well, I have severe PTSD. So, especially with the incident with Travis Mills, I just hadn't seen that kind of thing, like that to that extent. Let us know what it is and what it does to us. PTSD is post-traumatic stress syndrome, and everybody reacts to stress and trauma differently. I know for myself, when I got diagnosed with it, I said, oh, that's great. I was weak, and while I was on duty, I had it very well, because if you went for any kind of help, even after our friends committed suicide, and I wanted just to go talk to a therapist or a social worker or something that was on the base, fine, but if you did that, you lost, for us, we lost our wings. We couldn't do our jobs anymore. Thought I had it controlled until I had to retire. So you mean after going through service all these years, and then you push it back, you push it back. So it's suppressed. Yes. And now you're retired, and now it shows its head. Ugly head, because you don't have a purpose. What do I do? And then for me, right after I got back in May. Two of my friends that were in Afghanistan with me, Robbie Cannon, Joe McCormick, pilot, Paul McHale, pilot, and Ryan David. The thing about the Air National Guard is we also do fight fires. So our aircraft and our loadmasters, they get up in the air and they'll, wherever there's a fire, they go. Our front-end crews in two of our aircraft, MAF 7 and MAF 8, was sent to, they stationed out of Colorado but flew into South Dakota, fighting fires in South Dakota. That plane went down and all four of them died. And then October, my nephew was killed. He'd been back from Afghanistan for about 6 months or 8 months, something like that, and some girl drinking, smoking drugs, texting, went across the freeway, and he was on my sister's bike, and he T-boned it, and he died instantly. He was 22, turning 23 that week, left behind 2 little babies and a wife. It was more than I could almost take. And then not having anything to do, not knowing what I was going to do, what do I do?
You didn't have the distraction anymore.
And I don't know how to take care of me, because I never had really thought of me as worthily being, I just never thought of that. So I tried to commit suicide. I made that decision. And my husband to this day doesn't really understand, but he tries real hard. It's funny because I had written the letters, I had made the calls I wanted to make and did the plans I wanted. It's hard, I can't explain this. And even with my spiritual beliefs, wasn't enough. My family wasn't enough. I was tired, and I just didn't see a reason.
The pain was that strong.
And then I finally understood why people commit suicide. It's not because they're cowards. It's not about being a coward. It's about not having a reason to live anymore. You have to have a purpose, a goal, something that you wake up in the morning and look forward to doing. God intervened anyway, because my son always called me in the morning. He never called me in the afternoons, nothing. All of a sudden the phone rings, and for whatever reason, I had laid the pills out, and I picked up the phone. It's my son. He goes, "Mom, hi. Just wanted to call you and tell you I loved you. What you doing?" And it just stopped me. And my husband forced me into treatment, and then I started working with the American Legion a lot. And the Legion helped save my life. I'm a veteran. Yes, I'm a female. I like being a female, but I'm a veteran. I earned that title, being a veteran. I've been told that. You're not a real veteran. Okay, you didn't serve in combat zones. I didn't? What's your definition of a combat zone? Do you think women really weren't in combat zones? Do you think women really didn't die?
What's the message from the commander's heart?
I would go back tomorrow to Afghanistan. I would never change anything I've done. I love the military. And war is hell. There's no joke about that. War is hell. This coin was our national commander. We had, by the way, ladies, the first female national commander ever. So we're here, and we're staying.
If you're struggling with thoughts of suicide, there is hope and there is help. You matter. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The calls are free and confidential. Call 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. You are not alone.
Before they could vote for president, women were joining the American Legion, where a veteran is a veteran, regardless of rank, race, or gender. A century later, that founding principle still stands. Over 3 million members of the American Legion family continues to fight for the rights and benefits of all veterans. You can stand with us, be a member of the American Legion family, and support our nation's veterans.
What is Team 100?
Team 100 is a movement.
A legacy.
It's a reflection of our past.
And a look into our future.
Team 100 represents the best of us.
It's 100 years of service to the community, state, and nation.
Let's build a new legacy together.
We are Team 100!
Let's talk for a moment about suicide. Is there a difference, is a variance between men and women, or is it about the same as far as the problem?
The last statistics I saw showed that women veterans, the numbers are higher for female veterans.
Than men?
Than men. They're not getting connected back into this society like they hoped they were.
What do we do about that?
Exactly. What do we do about that?
I mean, that's not just, I mean, yes, you're the commander of the American Legion,
right?
And you'll have someone else coming in, and there's always going to be a next person, but this is an American problem.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
It is an American problem. And we work very hard with the administration. We storm the Hill as often as we possibly can, and we try to get connected with our legislators from all across the nation. I got the opportunity to read the book, The Hello Girls, which is about World War I phone operators who were over in Europe making those phone connections so that orders could get passed down to our men out in the field. Now, they say women weren't in combat. Now, those women were out in those fields, and there were bombs going off very close to them. The same with our World War II women who were out there being operators, nurses, secretaries, all of that work right up until the current time. Women truly have been serving in amazing fields across the nation, across the world. Sometimes it's just a matter of maybe people didn't realize where they were in harm's way. When you think about the nurses that served out in field hospitals, and even in our hospitals here in the United States, they saw horrific things. The men were being brought off the battlefield, and they were in those tents helping to put them back together. They're suffering from post-traumatic stress just as badly as those who are actually on the field seeing it as well. They saw things that people don't normally see, right. and that happens.
And a lot of it.
A lot of it, and that happens. We still have a war on terrorism going on. We still have doctors and nurses, male and female, who are seeing horrific things. We're having to help get our troops through those horrific things. When I was in school, I didn't care for history much. Right. This year, as National Commander, being able to travel, meet so many veterans, male and female, and listen to the stories, the differences that our men and women in uniform have made to this nation.
What were some of those interactions that you had with other female veterans as you traveled from state to state? Are there certain concerns or issues that we should think about a little bit more?
Well, a lot of the female veterans that I have met, they don't necessarily identify themselves as veterans. So that becomes one of our biggest pushes is when we ask a female, are you a veteran? They may say no, but if you ask, have you ever served in uniform? They're more apt to say yes. A lot of them feel that having served in uniform but not serving in combat or not serving in certain roles doesn't give them the right to call themselves a veteran, but they are. If they served in uniform, they are a veteran. And then we have some female veterans who may be homeless, living on the street, and they may have children. So they're afraid to identify themselves as needing assistance because they're afraid their children might get taken away from them. And as I've traveled, there are a lot of homeless veteran shelters out there, but they're not set up for families. So there's a lot of women who are out there who may be living in a car, maybe living on somebody's couch.
Even now?
Even now, yes.
So we have female veterans.
Yes.
Women who have served our nation in one of our branches, and they're now homeless.
They are.
There was a moment in the life of a lady from Iowa that she realized one day, hey, I possibly could become the national commander. At that very moment, if you could tell me what that was like, what happened? How did that happen?
When it finally clicked in me that it was probably going to happen, I had to sit down and I almost hyperventilated. I was like, oh my gosh, this really might be happening. See, women have been in leadership position in the American Legion for years, but to be the first female to hold the position of National Commander, wow. It sort of takes your breath away. I didn't start out being in the Legion thinking I'm going to be National Commander someday. I got into the American Legion because I loved the grassroots work that we did each and every day. To me, it was one of those things where greatness was thrusted upon me. And it is such an honor to serve as National Commander, male or female, but to be the one who actually is the first female. It's been amazing.
We believe in patriotism. We believe in our nation's youth. We believe veterans earn their benefits through their service to our nation. We believe in a strong national security. We believe in our country. For 100 years, veterans have been impacting our nation through the American Legion, and we believe it makes a difference. If you believe, learn more at legion.org/webelieve.
When disaster strikes, the American Legion acts. The National Emergency Fund provides immediate cash to veterans when they need it, where they need it. Hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, floods. The American Legion is ready to brighten up the darkest hours thanks to your generous gift. Visit legion.org/donate or call 1-800-433-3318.
The American Legion World Series has become a summer tradition in the Carolinas. More than 4,000 American Legion Post teams across the country compete for a chance to travel to Shelby, North Carolina for the multi-day, patriotic, fun-filled American Legion World Series. Make this great American event part of your family tradition. Learn more at AmericanLegionWorldSeries.com.
If you would, let's get started by telling me about your life, just a little about your life growing up and how you became inspired to get into the military.
I started with my dad and his service. My dad was a World War II veteran. I always grew up knowing that I could be anybody that I wanted to be. That's the way that they pretty much brought me up.
So no limitations?
There was none. My dad was also a Legionnaire. Only was allowed to wear his cap for 3 minutes. He said, well, if you want to be a Legionnaire, you would have to, serve your country just like I did. But what greater love was it for a person to lay down their life for a freedom that they believed in? And because of my teaching, and the programs that the American Legion had me in, the children and youth programs, that really inspired me, with my parents through the civil rights, through community service, not only service in my community, but also with the state. And all of this was important to me. So if you want those freedoms, then they have to be worth fighting for. So I decided to join the United States Army.
As you served, were there there were moments that you felt that because you were a woman, that you were having to deal with issues that maybe the men weren't having to deal with?
There were some gender concerns, that some guys had already. They were mostly preconceived already. Women have been serving and supporting our country for forever, from the Revolutionary, and even if you go back further than that. I do recognize that there were still some thoughts that people had about from race to gender, doing things that were not traditional.
So you come from obviously a loving family, people who inspired you, but while you were serving, you lost your dad.
I did. At 23, I lost him while I was serving in Germany. And that was very difficult for me because I think he was just getting to the point that he was accepting and to the fact that my daughter is okay. She's gonna be all right. Being a combat veteran myself now, it had made me understand more about my dad and his service in World War II, the things that he did not want to sit on the porch and talk about. He's not here to hear or to know that I have some of those memories too of my own, in my own service in combat.
He didn't get to see you become the first African American commander for the state of North Carolina, for the American Legion.
Oh, he didn't.
What would he have said?
Oh, I have often wondered just what my dad would say about that, because no one would have ever thought, not even me, that this girl would grow up and be the first woman and first African American state commander with the American Legion. It really amazes me. Do you realize that we're in North Carolina? I don't know if we're ready for that yet, because I was listening to other people that said we're not ready for that. But my question was, why not? Women are doing a lot of things that they didn't do before. They know now that women serve in combat. Women are commanders. Women are in charge of a lot of organizations and companies and things. We're running things, we're evolved. But then you have some that feel like that maybe you don't need to do that because it's still, we're not ready. Yes, we are ready.
Walk me through your emotions and your feelings when it was officially announced and you were chosen.
I was scared a little, but at the same time I was very excited because it just felt like we're moving forward, and that was one of the things that I had on my campaign was, and I used it throughout my year, and sometimes I still say it, Forward March.
But have you sat and thought about the fact that you now have a permanent place in American history?
I have never really thought about it. You know, I just try to do the best I can to try to help as many people that I can.
What do you have to say to people who are on a road, on a journey, trying to get from here to here?
Be yourself and be true to yourself. Always work toward your dreams. A lot of times those great things will come upon you. It's never about service to yourself, but it's service to others.
You can't get away from it, can you?
No, I can't. And that's one thing that keeps me grounded. And it was about selfless service. What's the future look like for you? We have a nonprofit that I'm the founder visionary for since 2007. But it's Women Veteran Support Services Incorporated, and it is headquartered out of Raleigh, but we service the whole state of North Carolina.
So with the American Legion, we are advocating to end veterans' homelessness. When you start talking about a veteran who's living on the street, and if they're unemployed, we're working job fairs across the nation to make sure that all veterans get employed as well. When you start going down a path of you don't have a home, you don't have a job, and you just don't feel like you're a good part of the community anymore, that's what leads to our veterans' homelessness, or veterans' suicides as well. And as we're talking veteran suicide, it's like, we need to do more for that also. And again, that's where the American Legion is working hard to invite veterans into our Legion posts across the nation and say, we can help you.
How can we help be a part of the solution?
You need to know the signs if someone's at risk. I would say educate yourself.
With our American Legion, the best part is just because you take the uniform off doesn't mean you stop serving the nation, because we're dedicated to serve one way or the other, in uniform or when we take the uniform off. It's a great nation. Somebody's got to keep it in check.
Thank you for your service. Thank you so much.